In the cold shadows of a shopping mall parking lot, two lives, once intertwined and now worlds apart, collide under the soft glow of falling snow. Alexander, a man who seemingly has it all, and Clara, whose struggles have left her homeless and vulnerable, are drawn back together by fate. As their paths cross, old wounds resurface, and long-buried emotions reignite. What unfolds is a journey of love, redemption, and the power of second chances. Will their shared past be enough to bridge the vast divide between them? Or will the ghosts of what they lost keep them apart forever? A story that reminds us that even in the coldest nights, love can light the way. Hi guys, I'm Kaitlyn, and this is the Stories of Echoes channel where I tell my stories, and I hope you enjoy every second of the story. The biting winter wind whipped through the nearly empty parking lot of Eastbrook Mall, carrying with it the faint echoes of holiday music from inside the sprawling shopping center. Clara huddled deeper into her tattered coat, her fingers numb as she clutched a makeshift cardboard sign. The harsh fluorescent lights cast long shadows across the asphalt, creating a stark contrast between the opulent world within the mall and the harsh reality of life on its fringes. At 32, Clara's once vibrant green eyes now held a weariness that belied her years. Her auburn hair, dulled by months without proper care, was tucked beneath a worn woolen hat. She had claimed this corner of the parking lot as her temporary refuge, a place where the wealthy patrons of Eastbrook rarely ventured, allowing her a modicum of privacy and safety. As the last stragglers trickled out of the mall, Clara's gaze drifted towards the main entrance. A taller man emerged, his silhouette cutting a striking path through the haze of snowflakes that had begun to fall. There was something achingly familiar about his gait, the way he carried himself with an air of quiet confidence. Alexander Reeves stepped out into the cold night, his mind a whirlwind of figures and projections from the day's meetings. At 35, he had achieved everything society deemed worthy of success: a thriving business empire, a penthouse overlooking the city, and a network of influential connections. Yet, as he walked towards his luxury car, an emptiness gnawed at him, a void that no amount of material wealth seemed able to fill. Lost in thought, Alexander almost missed the huddled figure in the shadows. But something, a flash of auburn beneath a frayed hat perhaps, caught his eye. He slowed his steps, squinting through the falling snow. Clara? The name escaped his lips in a whisper, laden with disbelief and a hint of long-buried emotion. At the sound of her name, Clara's head snapped up, her eyes widening in recognition. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as their gazes locked, bridging the vast chasm that had grown between them over the years. "Alexander," she breathed, her voice hoarse from disuse. A myriad of emotions flashed across her face: surprise, wariness, and something that might have been hope, quickly masked by a hardened exterior. Alexander took a tentative step forward, his designer shoes crunching on the frost-covered ground. I can't believe it's you," he said, his voice thick with a mixture of shock and concern. "What are you doing out here?" Clara's pride flared, momentarily overshadowing her desperate circumstances. "What does it look like?" she retorted, gesturing to her makeshift shelter with a bitter laugh. "Living the high life, clearly." The sarcasm in her voice was sharp enough to cut, but Alexander didn't flinch. Instead, he crouched down, bringing himself to her eye level. Up close, he could see the toll that life on the streets had taken on her once radiant features. Yet beneath the grime and weariness, he glimpsed flashes of the woman he had once known and loved. "Clara, I'm so sorry," Alexander began, fumbling for words that seemed woefully inadequate. I had no idea. How long have you been on the streets? Clara finished for him, her tone softening slightly at the genuine concern in his eyes. A while. Life has a way of throwing curveballs, doesn't it? Alexander nodded, a lump forming in his throat as he thought of all the twists and turns that had led them to this moment. He glanced at his car, then back at Clara, an idea forming in his mind. Listen, I know this is unexpected, but would you let me help you, at least for tonight? He asked, his voice gentle but earnest. It's freezing out here, and I have a spare room. No strings attached, I promise. Clara's first instinct was to refuse. Pride and past hurts warred within her, urging her to push him away. But as another gust of icy wind cut through her thin layers, a small voice of reason spoke up. This could be a chance, perhaps her only chance, to get back on her feet. Why? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Why would you help me after all this time? Alexander's gaze softened, a mix of guilt and determination settling in his features. Because once upon a time, you meant the world to me, Clara, and even though things ended the way they did, I never stopped caring. Please, let me do this. If not for old time's sake, then simply as one human being helping another. Clara searched his face, looking for any sign of deceit or ulterior motive. Finding none, she slowly nodded, her resolve crumbling in the face of his sincerity and the promise of warmth. Okay, she said quietly, her voice trembling slightly, just for tonight. Relief washed over Alexander's face as he stood, offering his hand to help Clara up. She hesitated for a moment before accepting it, her cold fingers enveloped by his warm grip. As she rose to her feet, the stark contrast between their current situations became even more apparent. Alexander guided Clara to his car, opening the passenger door for her. As she settled into the plush leather seat, a wave of emotions threatened to overwhelm her. The familiar scent of Alexander's cologne mingled with the new car smell, creating a disorienting blend of past and present. As Alexander slid into the driver's seat, he cast a sidelong glance at Clara. In the soft glow of the dashboard lights, he could see the walls she had built around herself, the years of hardship etched into the lines of her face. Yet, there was also a flicker of something else, a spark of the vibrant, passionate woman he had once known. Starting the engine, Alexander felt a surge of determination. This chance encounter, as unexpected as it was, felt like an opportunity for redemption, not just for Clara, but for himself as well. As they pulled out of the parking lot and into the snowy night, neither of them could have predicted the journey of healing, growth, and rediscovery that lay ahead. The city lights blurred past the windows, casting a kaleidoscope of colors across Clara's pensive face. In the companionable silence that settled between them, both Clara and Alexander found themselves contemplating the twists of fate that had brought them to this moment, and the possibilities that tomorrow might bring. The first rays of sunlight filtered through the curtains of Alexander's guest room, gently rousing Clara from her slumber. For a moment, she lay still, disoriented by the unfamiliar softness of the mattress beneath her. The events of the previous night came rushing back, and she sat up, her heart racing with a mixture of gratitude and apprehension. As she padded barefoot across the plush carpet, Clara caught sight of her reflection in a full-length mirror. The woman staring back at her was a far cry from the vibrant soul she once knew. Her clothes, though clean and borrowed from Alexander, hung loosely on her frame. Dark circles beneath her eyes told the story of countless sleepless nights on the streets. A gentle knock on the door startled her. "Clara?" Alexander's voice was soft, hesitant. "Breakfast is ready if you'd like to join me." Clara took a deep breath, steeling herself for the interaction ahead. "I'll be right out," she called, her voice steadier than she felt. In the kitchen, Alexander stood at the stove, flipping pancakes with the practiced ease of someone unaccustomed to cooking for themselves. The domesticity of the scene struck Clara, a stark contrast to the polished businessman she remembered. "I hope you still like blueberry pancakes," Alexander said, sliding a plate across the marble countertop. "I remember they were your favorite." Clara's lips curved into a small smile, touched by the gesture. "You remembered," she murmured, taking a tentative bite. The taste transported her to happier times, weekends spent laughing and planning their future together. As they ate in companionable silence, Clara found herself studying Alexander. The years had been kind to him, silver threads at his temples lending him an air of distinguished charm. Yet there was a weariness in his eyes that spoke of a different kind of struggle. "Thank you," Clara said softly, breaking the silence. "For last night, for this." She gestured to the breakfast spread. "But I can't stay here, Alexander. This isn't my world anymore." Alexander set down his fork, his gaze intense. "It could be again, Clara. Let me help you get back on your feet. No strings attached, I promise." Clara felt her defenses rising. "I don't need your charity," she said, her voice sharp. "I've survived this long on my own." "It's not charity," Alexander insisted, reaching across the counter to take her hand. Clara flinched at the contact but didn't pull away. "It's atonement for the way things ended between us, for not being there when you needed me most." The sincerity in his voice made Clara's chest tighten. She wanted to believe him, to trust that his intentions were pure. But years on the streets had taught her that nothing came without a price. One week, she found herself saying, "I'll stay for 1 week, then we'll reassess." Relief washed over Alexander's face. "Thank you," he said, squeezing her hand gently before releasing it. "I promise you won't regret this." The days that followed were a delicate dance of rediscovery. Clara, accustomed to the harsh realities of street life, found herself marveling at the simple luxuries she had once taken for granted. A hot shower, clean clothes, a safe place to rest her head at night, each felt like a small miracle. Alexander, true to his word, gave Clara the space she needed while remaining a constant, reassuring presence. He arranged for her to meet with a social worker, helped her obtain necessary identification documents, and even reached out to local shelters to volunteer his time and resources. It was during one of these volunteer sessions that Clara truly began to see the changes in Alexander. As they served meals at a women's shelter, she watched him engage with the residents, listening to their stories with genuine empathy and offering words of encouragement. "You've changed," Clara remarked as they walked back to his car that evening. The Alexander I knew would have balked at the idea of spending his Saturday night in a homeless shelter. Alexander's smile was tinged with sadness. "I've learned a lot since we were last together, Clara, about what really matters in life. Success means nothing if you're not using it to make a difference." His words resonated with Clara, stirring something within her that she had long thought dormant, hope. As the week drew to a close, she found herself less eager to leave the safety of Alexander's world. On the final night of their agreed-upon arrangement, Alexander surprised Clara with a home-cooked meal. As they sat across from each other, the flickering candlelight casting a warm glow over the dining room, Clara felt a familiar flutter in her chest. "I have something for you," Alexander said, sliding an envelope across the table. "It's not much, but it's a start." Clara opened the envelope with trembling fingers, her eyes widening as she saw the contents. A job offer? Alexander, I can't. It's entry level at my company's charitable foundation, he explained quickly. You'd be perfect for it, Clara. Your experiences, your resilience, they're invaluable. You could help so many people who are in the position you were in. Tears welled in Clara's eyes as the full weight of Alexander's gesture hit her. It wasn't just a job offer. It was a chance at redemption, an opportunity to reclaim her life and make a difference. Why are you doing all this? She whispered, her voice choked with emotion. Alexander reached across the table, taking her hand in his. This time, Clara didn't flinch. Because I love you, Clara. I never stopped loving you. And I want to spend the rest of my life making up for the time we lost. In that moment, as Clara looked into Alexander's eyes, she saw the future she had once dreamed of. A future filled with love, purpose, and hope. And for the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe that it was possible. Yes, she said softly, a smile blooming on her face. Yes to the job, yes to us, to trying again. As Alexander pulled her into his arms, Clara felt the last of her walls crumbling. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, that there would be challenges to face and demons to conquer. But with Alexander by her side, she was ready to embrace the journey, one step at a time. In the warmth of their embrace, Clara and Alexander found not just redemption, but the promise of a love reborn, stronger, deeper, and more resilient than ever before. If you enjoyed this heartfelt story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. We bring you a new story every day, and your support means the world to us. Share your thoughts in the comments and let us know what you think. See you in the next story. Stay inspired and take care.